Hello, I'm JerryDOusley, and welcome to today's edition of Spirit Bread. Today I'd like to talk to you about giving it your best shot. What do you do when the car needs repaired, the furnace is broken, and you just paid the mortgage payment that left your checking account wondering if it would ever see black ink again? Well, it wasn't quite that bad, but I kind of got that feeling when the dryer broke down again. I really didn't have the money to call a repairman, and what I know about dryers you could cram in a thimble and still have room to put your finger in. A few months earlier, the belt had broken on our dryer, and I was able to find illustrated instructions on the internet that gave step-by-step details to replace it myself. It even gave me the part number of our model. Maybe I could find a site that would tell me why it wouldn't do anything at all. I had envisioned the worst. Sometimes I have a tendency to look at the negative side of things, and so I just knew the timer or the motor had gone out. That would mean an expensive fix, even if I could figure out how to do it myself. I perused the various websites and pages looking for a possible answer as to why our dryer wouldn't tumble or even act like it had power. By the way, it was plugged in. I checked. There was some kind of electrical energy pulsing through its wires, because when you opened the door, the little light come on. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work. It was then that my eyes fell on something that lit up the dollar savers. I discovered that dryers have a little part called a fuse. Now, the dryer fuse looks nothing like what comes to mind when you hear the word fuse, at least not in mine. I think of something like you snap into place in your car, or screw into a socket in an electrical panel. The fuse in the dryer is encased in a black wrapping. It still could have been the motor, based on what I read, but for $15 I was willing to take that chance. So I got the part number for a dryer model and called the local appliance store. Guess what? He had one in stock. I was nervously excited. If it didn't fix the problem, then I'd have wasted $15. But if it worked, I would save 3 or 4 times that amount. I decided to purchase a fuse and take my chances on the cheap fix. To my utter amazement and pleasure, it worked. As soon as I put the fuse into place and hooked the wires up to it with a prayer under my breath, a push of a button, and the motor started and the tumbler started turning, just as good as new. To say the least, I was thankful. Life is like that, even when you're a Christian. We sometimes have the misconception that when we give our lives to God, that everything's going to come up roses from that day forth. Actually, life reveals that it just doesn't work that way. But isn't God like the richest individual in the whole universe? Yes, He is. Then why can't He just give us the things we need and want? Because He knows that we just get spoiled and lazy. That's a hard, cold fact, but very true. God wants us to trust Him in faith, but He also wants us to do our part. The Bible tells us that God owns the cattle at 1,000 hills. That's Psalm 50, verse 10. I heard a wise man say once, God does own the cattle at 1,000 hills, but sometimes if we want one, He expects us to go up and drive it down ourselves. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for joining us. We invite you to find out more by visiting our website at www.spiritbread.com. You're also welcome to email us at JOUSLEY@spiritbread.com. Take God with you wherever you go and in whatever you do, and have a wonderful day. Join us next time for another edition of Spirit Bread.